live from the crossroads of the West in Salt Lake City, Utah. The time right now is 8:29 p.m. Mountain Standard Time here in the United States. We apologize for that broadcast breaking off a little bit ago. We had an electrical problem and it literally shut down everything. The lights, the computer, the whole works. And then it came on just seconds, came back on seconds later. And so we're back here on the air. I am hoping beyond hope that this is not an omen of things to come, because this video that we have to show you is very important and is something that you ought to know about. So without further ado, I'm going to play this video, then we can talk a little bit, and then I've got another video to show you. Stand by just a second here.
You know, for the whole week, maybe 4 or 5 hours a week, with this one right now in Wuhan.
Right. There was a headline, Mondo.
Yes, sir.
About a Chinese man in the United States, and he was doing an interview.
Yes, absolutely. This is the billionaire whistleblower is what they're calling him. He was having an interview with the former White House chief strategist, Steve Bannon, and the information that this whistleblower brought to the table shocked probably every media outlet right now. Is going viral. The information, he said this, he believes, I quote, 1.5 million people are confirmed with the coronavirus in China. But this is the shocking part. He believes over 50,000 bodies are being cremated right now, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is unheard of. Usually a crematory is run, you know, for the whole week, maybe 4 or 5 hours a week. With this one right now in Wuhan is running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And he's saying this: China, the media, the people are not telling us the truth of the real numbers of what he predicts and he believes of the people that are dying, not the people that are being quarantined. The deaths that were not being reported, he believes is probably in the millions already. We're not being told.
Just last night to this morning, there are 15,000 new infection cases, as well as 250 new deaths that have already taken place within 24 hours.
And now, here's what they're saying. If they don't get a hold of it soon, 60% of the world will come down with this disease. Is that right?
Absolutely. According to Dr. Gabriel told The Guardian, it says this, and I quote, the coronavirus rate of infection suggests that 60% of the global population could get the virus if it is not brought under control.
The stories are unbelievable.
You heard it, folks. You heard it. I wanted to play that video for you. It makes a lot of sense, and it goes along with everything that we've been talking about. Literally everything that we've been talking about. This confirms. Now, we've been talking about this virus now for at least 3 to 6 weeks, anywhere between 3 to 6 weeks. I can only hope that you all are paying attention. I can only hope that you know what's going on, because it's going to affect each and every one of us. This morning, we received word early this morning that the mayor of San Francisco, the governor of California, and the California State Health Department have told the cruise company, Princess Cruises, that their ship that's off the coast of San Francisco right now is not being allowed to come into port because 19 crew members and 2 passengers have come down with the coronavirus. The state health director, the powers that be in San Francisco, flew out to the ship today, and as of this morning, like I said, the governor and the mayor said the ship cannot come in until they ascertain who and who doesn't have the coronavirus. And as I reported, there are at least 19 crew members and 2 passengers on board that boat. There are approximately 2,000 total passengers. Now, when that cruise ship will be allowed to come into port is completely unknown. How long does it take to test people? How long does it take to test people? Quite some time. How many people can they fit onto a helicopter with the equipment and the test kits to be able to test 2,000 people? That's number one. Number two, when they usually test people and they come up positive or negative, they wait 2 days and administer another test. Depending on what happens there, they may wait another 2 days to administer another test, and then another after that, until they ascertain exactly what they want to know. That is what happened over in Japan. That is what's happening here in the United States. When the embassy personnel came over from China to the United States, they were taken to Travis Air Force Base in California. They were taken to Lackland Air Force Base in Texas. And there was another flight that moved on from San Francisco and went over to Omaha, Nebraska, to a medical center that was specially equipped to handle specific diseases. Not to put anything else out there that they might not be able to handle, but it was specially equipped to handle people with specific deadly viruses. Did they or did they not know what was going to happen before they set up that hospital? It's a conspiracy theory, I'm sure, in the very least. And at the very most, it's a situation where Bill Gates, his wife, and probably a bunch of other elites, and I'm saying hundreds of people, knew that this was going to happen, knew that the coronavirus was going to get out, knew what the coronavirus was going to do, and kept it hidden from the people. I just showed you that video where the one person and a whistleblower said that there were thousands of people being cremated every day in China, irregardless of what the official Chinese reports are. There are a lot more than 3,200 dead. The figures I have are 3,250 people dead, 3,250 people dead, and over 92,000 cases of the coronavirus. 92,000 plus throughout the world. And I think, if the truth be known, that we could multiply that by at least 2, and then we wouldn't be too far off. Multiply the number of deaths? No. You would have to multiply that by 100. 3,250 people dead when they're cremating thousands of people a day, 24 hours a day. We know China's lied to us, barefaced lied to us. And quite frankly, I'm a citizen of the United States. And I know this program goes literally all over the world. Northern Europe, the Middle East, over into Japan, down into Indonesia, Australia, South America, Central America. I personally have at least 2 people in Central America that watch this show every day. Every day. And hundreds, if not thousands of people watch this show throughout the world and in the United States and Canada. I know quite a few people in Canada that watch this show, and probably a lot more than I know about. And that's fine, I'm glad. Those of you that watch this show, please subscribe to the Freedom Revolution Network so you'll be notified when we go on the air. Second, go over to the Freedom Revolution Network YouTube channel and subscribe to that as well. And like our channel, like our program. Okay? That will make our numbers skyrocket, number one. Number two, it will make YouTube stand up and be counted as a bona fide news network. Because basically that's what we are. Yes, we have some entertainment and we have breaking news. On a lot of fronts, the coronavirus, earthquakes, Cascadia, hurricanes, tornadoes, fires, dangerous explosions. We cover it all. But folks, you need to be aware of what's going on. I don't want to see people dead, and I know that's exactly what's going to happen. You can count on it. You can count on it. You can take that to the bank. You can actually take that to the bank. What I fear is that we're not being told everything, and they're purposely hiding information from us. They're purposely hiding information from us. Now, I just found out this afternoon, about an hour or so before we came on board here today, that there is a Utah company that now is selling coronavirus test kits here in the United States. Local news, ABC4 News here in Salt Lake broke this story today. 7:07 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, updated today. This is a story. I've got it up here so you can see it. So you can see it. With global shortages of testing kits for the coronavirus, a Utah-based company, Co-Diagnostics, has created affordable and advanced technology that bring results quickly. It's a small, compact red box that holds 48 test tubes at a time and takes 90 minutes for lab technicians to know if you test positive or negative with the coronavirus. Basically, what we have is an entire lab set up in a box, said Joseph Featherstone, a business director with a medical company, explaining how the test works. Featherstone said technicians are able to see results in real time. You'll see a graph, and if there's no virus, then the line basically stays flat. And if you do have the virus, then starting about 20 to 25 minutes into the test, you'll start to see this amplification curve that will come up and show that you're positive, Featherstone said. He said the companies sold kits to multiple countries. And just this week, the Food and Drug Administration approved sales here in the United States. Due to the COVID-19 outbreak and speed of diagnosis, Featherstone said the technology is cutting edge and costs less than $10. That's what this company is offering, is to help us stay calm in this very tenuous market right now and have the best options forward for saving time, which is critical, and for even saving money. Jen Garbett of supportive testing. Because you can have great technology, but if people can't afford it, it doesn't do you any good, Featherstone said. ABC News reached out to the Utah Department of Health to ask if they will use the new test, but officials said they rely on the Utah Public Health Laboratory and the Center for Disease Control, not private business. Now, with that said, I know there are powers that be here in the state of Utah that watch this program. And I'm going to urge all of them to come up with a better decision than that, because obviously the Center for Disease Control has dropped the ball in many cases. They have. Okay, what about that woman over in San Diego? She was in quarantine at Miramar Marine Corps Air Station. They sent her results to be tested, her specimens to be tested. Meantime, somebody dropped the ball and said, oh, she's fine. Let's take her to UCSD, University of California, San Diego, and hold her there. Put her in ICU there. On the way, while she's still on the way to UCSD, someone finds out that the results never made it into testing at the CDC in Atlanta. Why? We don't know. We've never got an answer to that question. But the CDC dropped the ball, and it was later found that this woman was indeed a carrier and was sick with the coronavirus. That's not the only case. There are several others that have happened as well. So I urge the Utah Department of Health and other states who have departments of health to come to your senses. Yeah, that might be insulting you, but at this point in time, we have a serious issue that needs to be taken care of. Do you have the cojones to stand up and be counted and do what is right at the time it is right, with the information that is right, to take care of business? Or are you going to sit on your hands and play this game that everybody's been playing up until now? And lying to the public. Lying not just to the American public, but the citizenry of this world. Yeah, that's exactly what you folks have done. You have lied to everyone. To the Chinese people and the Chinese leadership that probably won't ever see this. You need to start being truthful. You need to stand up for what is right as well, regardless of what anybody else says anywhere else in the world. You need to take responsibility for what all of you folks have done and stand up and be counted and start doing things right. Because if you don't, millions upon millions of people are going to die, and the blood will be on your hands. And to me, that's not right. That's not what should be done. I've thought long and hard about what I was going to talk about tonight, and I just did. And we were going to have a longer talk tonight, but because of family issues and then technical issues with the power going out, we weren't able to come back on the line with enough time. We would have had an additional half hour if we'd been able to get on the air when we really wanted to after our family event. But now you know the truth. And now we'll wait for the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey would say. My friends, please take this video and make it go viral on social media. Hold on a second. Hello? Yeah. Okay, super, thank you. Bye-bye. I just got told we have another hour, a little over an hour, and we're going to take every penny of it, every minute of it. As I said, we need to have all of you make this video go viral. The one video I just played for you and the information I just read to you about the Utah company that has the test kits available. And friends, you have the name of the company doing the building the test kits. If things get to where you believe you need a test kit, find out their telephone number, their address, their email address, and ask them to send you a test kit. And yes, you're gonna have to pay $10 for it and whatever shipping there might be, but you can test yourself at that point. You don't have to wait for these departments, the powers that be, to make decisions for you and your family. As I said before in other broadcasts, you have to take the bull by the horns yourself. When it comes to finding out information, you need to do that digging yourself. In a lot of circles, that's why you're here watching me, watching our Emergency Management Associates program. So you'll have the information necessary, because nobody else is going to tell you. Yes, I'm all over YouTube and other channels pulling information to give you every day, hours upon hours every day. We work in your behalf to bring you the most information possible so you can make decisions for yourselves. I hate what is being done to you, and I hate what's being done to me and everyone else. We shouldn't have to work this hard to protect ourselves. But people with money and greed are the ones that put us here. And I think most of you know it. Most of you are well aware of that. But unfortunately, we are not given the means to pull the information, which I completely don't understand. I don't get it. I thought that we were all supposed to be working together. That government was supposed to support the people, not the people, the government. And yet other states and the federal government have placed restrictions on us, imposed restrictions and sanctions to keep us from preparing and knowing the truth. The workaround with this whole issue is there are people like myself that are working hours and hours every day to find out information to give you. And honestly, when I first got cut off tonight, I thought, oh my gosh, somebody knows me and shut things down. Yeah, that's a conspiracy theory. That's honestly what went through my head. And then power came on again, real quick. What I want you to do, what I think you all should be doing, is becoming self-sufficient. Don't rely on anyone else but yourselves and your families, and possibly the closest of friends. Other people are going to let you down. Other people don't give a darn about you. They're more concerned with themselves. Now, we've talked a lot about preparedness. We're going to continue doing that. One of my associates, Mel Holder, that works here at Freedom Revolution, she and I were talking a little bit earlier about whether or not the government was going to impose sanctions on us and take away our rights and impose martial law on us. And I told her that, yes, I thought that's what was going to happen. And that they would also be coming looking for our guns, like what has already started over in West Virginia. Or is it? No, it's Virginia, not West. It's Virginia. Because the Democrat communists got into control there and wanted to suspend people's rights and force them to hand over their weapons. That was just one incident. One incident. But I fear there's going to be many more, especially with the coronavirus going to happen. One thing about Colorado and Utah is that about 5 years ago, law enforcement signed a letter together. All the sheriffs in Utah, 100% of them, and 85% of the sheriffs in Colorado signed a pact that they would not allow weapons to be confiscated in these states, in these two states. 85% of the sheriffs in Colorado and 100% here in Utah. Because Obama and his cronies, Eric Holder, Donna Brazile, and many others, including Nancy Pelosi, Harry Reid, and probably a dozen or two other Democrat senators and representatives from around this country, had decided that, oh, heaven forbid, we can't let our constituents have weapons, because if they do, they're going to run us out of town. They're going to have the control. Why do I say that? One, I know it's true, that that's exactly what they're saying. They're afraid that if we're allowed to protect ourselves, that they won't achieve their goal. They won't be allowed to achieve their goal. I find that to be quite appalling. That their whole goal is complete and absolute control of this country and this world. They want to control it. They want to run the whole show. It's going to be people like you and I that stand up to them and say, hell no, we won't go. And there's going to be millions of us that are going to do it. But first, you need to become self-sufficient, to protect yourself, to take care of yourselves. Not only in the coronavirus world, making sure you get the health care you need to survive. But when Cascadia does happen, and I believe it will, you need to be able to take care of yourself, because the government surely won't. And the government won't be able to do it either. Not just that they won't, but they won't be able to do it, because there will be millions of people hurt, injured, and killed by that earthquake. Thousands of people were killed in 1700 when the last Cascadia event happened. Now, that entire area is become very populated. And yet they still have not improved the infrastructure to be able to withstand that kind of earthquake. And someone asked me this morning too, oh, how large do you think Cascadia is going to be? And I said at least a 9 to a 9.5, and I believe even up to a 12 magnitude earthquake. Why do I say that? After consulting with Terry Rempel, after going over the facts about Cascadia, and yes, I've seen the facts, I've watched the videos, I've taken the scientific explanations, and I've come up with that. But folks, you need to get ready. And you need to get ready now. As Terry Rempel said, we don't know the day or the hour that Cascadia is going to hit. And it's not just that. Even though Terry tried, as he said, he failed to come up with a date or an approximate time when Cascadia was going to hit. But if you look at all the scientific evidence, the continued volcanic action that's happening up and down the coast of North America, including British Columbia and the United States, we see the seismic activity and the volcanism increase. Just yesterday, we saw over 100 earthquakes that had hit in Southern California. And it's continuing today, right now, as we speak. Now, the US agency is not going to tell you, but the Europeans have a good eye on it. And they are going to tell us about most of what is happening. I also believe they're hiding information. The PNSN is hiding information. I've got screenshots where they've taken down the seismograms. I've got screenshots where they've doctored the seismograms. And yes, professors and scientists at PNSM, Terry and I are also in possession of documents that prove that you have doctored the information from the seismograms. Yeah, we have the proof. The proof is in the pudding. They don't want us to have the real information. They can make up every story that they want to, including, oh, we're afraid people will panic. Of course they're gonna panic. When you lie to them, you cover information up, you hide information, or you just don't tell us. And you expect us to remain calm, cool, and collected without getting any kind of upset? Why don't you tell us? Why won't you be honest with us? When we have a scientist like the guy that Terry Rempel and I have mentioned in previous briefings, that has outright lied to everybody, and he knows it. And he's defamed people that come forward with the truth. Or people like the representative that used to work for USGS that now works for Caltech. And you know who you are. When a reporter asked you on July 4th last year why you weren't putting the earthquakes on the USGS earthquake map, and you said because there's not enough room, and yet the map had only maybe several hundred of earthquakes listed, and there was plenty of room to put the other earthquakes on the map. True story. Don't lie to us. A lot of us are very smart, lady. A lot of us are very smart. And we're actually one step ahead of you in many cases, because you won't tell us the truth. So we have to dig for it ourselves. And then you wonder why we get upset with you. The handwriting's on the wall, folks, both for the deceptionists, if that's a word, the people that deceive us, and those of us that know what to do and how to do it and get the job done. Okay? Become self-sufficient. I have no problem trying to help you. And there's many others that will try to help you as well. But become self-sufficient. Being able to provide everything your family needs without outside help is a lost art. Not only a lost art, but many people don't understand how to do that. But after Cascadia hits, or when novel coronavirus makes larger strides here in this country, Canada, and around the world, becoming self-sufficient and providing everything your family needs without outside help is going to become a necessary skill after the government collapses. Now, some of you have heard the term homesteading. It's a huge topic. So let me just give you some of the main things to consider for your long-term survival. 1, raise small barnyard animals, such as chickens, rabbits, ducks, goats. Larger ones like cows and pigs require a lot more maintenance and food, and in many cases, a lot more room than some of us can give them. So we can't raise the large animals, but the smaller ones we can. And if you don't have the room, go in together, find other people to go in together and work together to raise animals, chickens, rabbits, ducks, goats. And to plant gardens to give yourself food to survive. And some food, you're going to have so much of it, you can sell it and make yourself some money. Second, consider harvesting rainwater, but be sure to check your state regulations before you do so. Why do I say that? Melissa will know. She lives in Colorado. A lot of years ago, and I want to say probably around 2004 or 5, the state of Colorado, in its communistic mind, had made it illegal to harvest any kind of rainwater. Yeah, it's illegal to harvest rainwater for your own use. They think you're going to steal water by harvesting rainwater, by putting a large receptacle to capture water. They're saying that you're stealing, and they've made it against the law. But with the coming mega drought that some states have already seen, and the huge amount of floods we had last year with 9 states here in the United States being covered with water. You're not going to be able to plant gardens. You're not going to be able to keep animals. The floods killed thousands of animals, tens of thousands of animals. A lot of stores throughout the United States, the shelves started becoming bare because they didn't have the amount of food that they normally would have had to stock their shelves. Now, the states have imposed restrictions and sanctions for harvesting water. And some have even restrictions on raising any kind of animal. So you're going to have a workaround to have the pieces of the harvesting system in place and keep them until you're ready to use them post-government collapse, when the Constitution and the law may become suspended. Number 3, consider beekeeping. A lot of people have, but you need to know how to do it. You need to know how to protect yourselves. Otherwise, you're not going to make any money. And you're not going to be able to harvest that wonderful sweetness that can only come from beekeeping. 4th, and I touched on it, gardening and farming, mini farming, becoming self-sufficient on less than an acre, less than a quarter of an acre. You can do that. 5th, become a canning expert. I recommend reading a book, a small book. It's called Mini Farming, Self-Sufficiency on a Quarter of an Acre. Read Ball Complete Book of Home Preserving. Ball Complete Book of Home Preserving. Ball is the company that makes canning jars and canning lids. Okay. Master these survival skills. You can only stockpile so much food and water, but learning to get it from a renewable source is a fantastic way to improve your long-term preparedness endeavors. Consider hunting. I've never hunted for anything in my life, but I know I can do it. Fishing. Growing a garden that we talked about. Foraging. Learning where useful plants are and what they look like, so that you can harvest these plants for you and your family's survival. Plants to eat if you run out of food. How about digging a well? I think 95% of us have never dug a well. I helped my father do it when I was a kid. 7, 8 years old, I was helping him dig a well on our property. And there are many other survival skills too. And if you want that list, ask, and I'll get it for you. Number 4, you need to learn how to barter your stockpile in your skills. Speaking of skills, let's not forget the art of negotiation. The art of negotiation. Now, we've already talked about getting things that we wouldn't normally use ourselves. We've talked about this. Getting things that we normally would not use ourselves. For example, me and cigarettes and alcohol. I don't drink and I don't smoke. But maybe I can get a few of this and a few of that to try to trade for something that we need. So learn the art of negotiation. It will help you get what you may want or need in a post-collapse world, such as food, water, or medicine. or many other things that you may need. Plus, you can even barter your survival skills. Someone may pay you to help them, whether pay you in money, cash, or with food, tools, or gear that you may need and want. Okay? A few tips about how to successfully negotiate for what you need. 1, always open with a low ball figure, low ball offer. Don't think just because you can offer them what they may want, you might be able to get it for a lot less. Open with a low ball offer. Second, never show anyone more than what you have. Never show anyone your food supply. Never show anyone the equipment or means that you have to take care of business. Don't show them anything you don't have to. Okay? The next thing, dig up as many benefits as you possibly can. You never know which one will get the person that you're bartering with to say yes. Dig up as many benefits as you possibly can for which you can offer them to get them to say yes, to give you the things that you need. The next one is something that some people have done, and because they've done it, they failed. Never act needy, desperate, or in a rush. That's only going to give the other party the ammunition they need to take more of what you have than what you're willing to give. In other words, you losing. You don't want to do that. When your opponent is thinking, don't screw everything up by saying something, stay silent until he agrees to your terms. Let me read that again. When your opponent is thinking, don't screw everything up by saying something, stay silent until they agree to your terms. Fifth, your long-term safety and protection is paramount. Stocking up on guns and ammunition is a very good idea. But what if there's no ammo available? Then you have a problem. You need to think about doing this right now. You're going to need these alternative survival weapons to keep you and your family safe, plus a solid home invasion and a bug out plan. Yes, you might be forced to bug out for weeks or even months after Cascadia or after any other kind of disaster, since things can take a turn for the worse within minutes. When you thought they're getting better, the whole situation can take a turn for the worse. Think about your long-term safety and protection and do something about it. You also need to think about lighting and electricity. Are you going to be facing an EMP, for example? And by the way, folks, yesterday I found out that there was a solar flare on the sun, and we have a CME en route to the Earth that probably will be here as early as tomorrow or Sunday. You need to think about that. Whether we have an EMP or not, the power grid will most likely fail everyone after the collapse of the government. Maybe even before. It may lead to the collapse of the government. You need your own power source, whether it be solar, wind, water. You're also going to need a way to turn mechanical energy, such as that coming from the wind, into electricity by means of a generator, which can be pretty loud, or a battery bank and a power inverter. Solar power that feeds electricity into a inverter, which feeds it into a storage battery. Think about it. There's a lot of companies out there that are offering solar panels and storage batteries, and their ability to help you. Consider it and negotiate with them too. Many times they'll have equipment that is last year's model that they haven't sold yet. You might be able to get a great deal for a lot less than a brand new product that happened that they just barely put on the shelf. Consider a prior year's product. Not old, not used, but you can get used equipment that is very good. But consider buying an older product that will do the job for you. Stock up on tools and gear. We've talked about that. I've shown you some of it that I have. I haven't showed you everything. I probably will never show you or anybody else everything that we have, and I won't do it. But you need to know what items that you're going to need to have, which items are going to be a pain in your butt to get in a post-apocalyptic society. Those tools and gear that will be almost impossible to get once the crap hits the oscillator. I also have lists of gear and tools that you may need. Think about this. How about canning lids for those canning jars, those ball canning jars we spoke about a few minutes ago? How about going to your dollar store and buying sewing needles and sewing kits with different colored threads? By the way, folks, a lot of years when I was just a teenager, I cut this finger, sliced it to the bone right here. Sliced it to the bone. My parents had left town on a very much needed vacation. At that point in time, they'd never gone off by themselves. They'd always been with us kids. And I had 6 siblings, or excuse me, I had 5 siblings. There were a total of 6 of us. My parents left me in charge. And I was outside trimming the hedges and cutting the grass. And while trimming the hedges, I took part of my finger off. About a third of my finger was laying down like this. Being a Boy Scout, I knew that you could sterilize a needle over a gas stove. So I turned my parents' stove on and sterilized a sewing needle over the hot flame. And after it had been there for about 45 seconds or so, I turned the gas off, wiped the soot off the needle. Then I took some alcohol and poured it over the needle to sterilize it. Then I threaded the needle, and this is at the same time I held a bandage together to hold the flesh together. But once I threaded the needle, then I proceeded to sew up my wound. Then I bandaged it. A few days later, my parents came home. My mother, in motherly instincts, of which you women can talk about all day long, saw my bandaged finger, and my mother asked, what happened to your finger? Oh, nothing, it's all right. What happened to your finger? And she grabbed my hand and took the bandage off of it and saw green stitches, green sewing thread stitches in my finger, and she nearly passed out. She immediately grabbed my arm and hauled me into the car and drove me to the doctor. Got me in to see the doctor. And he asked, well, what brings you here today? And my mother says, Ron cut himself and sewed himself up. The doctor said, oh, really? That's pretty ingenious of him. Let me see it. So I walked over to him and pulled the bandage off and showed him what I'd done. I told him how it happened, showed him how I'd done it and what I'd done to sew it up. He looked at it and said, that's pretty good. You did a good job. And my mother says, don't you tell him that. She didn't want me to ever do that again. But when we're talking about sewing kits and needles, think long-term, think out of the box, how you may save your life or the life of one of your kids, or save your finger or the finger of one of your kids. Besides just sewing up holes and patches in clothes and stuff, think about the medicinal things that you can do to save yourself. Because you may not be able to find a doctor when the crap has hit the fan. Plus, you may not be able to ever afford a doctor again once the apocalypse hits, because their prices are going to go through the roof and you're not going to have the money. I'm not going to have the money. So think about needles and sewing kits, fishing equipment, cooking equipment, pans, pots, coffee pots, some way to heat up water. How about emergency stoves that run on propane or white gas? That can save your life too. Consider that. How about baby diapers and feminine hygiene products to put in your emergency supply kit? How about wood, alcohol, or propane stoves? You can get them very inexpensively. How about sturdy soled shoes and or boots, hiking boots? Make sure you have a sturdy soled shoe that you may have to walk in for a long distance. Make sure your shoes are already broken in so you don't get blisters when you wear them. Consider flashlights, the hand crank kind. The hand crank kind. We have 2 or 3 of those around our house, as well as a hand crank emergency radio. Batteries to power your flashlight and your emergency AM/FM weather radio. How about tools, hammers, nails, wrenches, shovels, splitting mauls, a wrench set? How about pliers? How about a hoe? All things to do that are good. Snow shovels, square nose shovels, round head shovels. How about a pitchfork? There's all sorts of uses for a pitchfork. Survival knives. Getting a good survival knife post-apocalypse is going to be very tough. I have a very good knife. It's got a pocket clip on it. It works great. I have many of them. And I also have a multi-tool, several multi-tools, matter of fact. That's going to come in pretty handy, and you can get them for little or nothing. I've got a great multi-tool that's one of the top of the line, and I got it for $5. In the stores, you can't get it for less than $100. Think about it. How about a chainsaw? Including a chainsaw that's a hand crank. How about a manual grain grinder? Or a coffee grinder? Even if you don't drink coffee, you can make flour out of wheat. Pour the wheat kernels into that coffee grinder and grind them up. And you can there's different settings for different grits that you're going to want to make bread or whatever, or cookies, or any number of things, cakes, pies. A grain grinder would be an awesome thing to have, or a coffee grinder. My parents had a coffee grinder that they cleaned up the stones so that it didn't smell of coffee, because my parents hated the smell. They used it to grind wheat until they got an electric wheat grinder. And I have an electric wheat grinder. How about a sharpening stone? My wife didn't even know what a sharpening stone was 3 years ago. We have one to sharpen our knives with. How about barrels? A while back, I did a video on water preparedness, keeping barrels of water for your use. Consider barrels for water storage or fuel storage if you're able to store fuel. How about clothes, especially hiking boots that we mentioned a few minutes ago? Have good, sturdy clothes, and clothes made for cold temperatures as well. And clothes made for warm temperatures, so you don't die of heat prostration. All these things, consider them all. Matches. Keeping your matches in good condition, keeping them dry, where they're going to work when there's an emergency, when you need to start a fire. We've also in the past talked about detailed maps of the area you live in. Keeping those maps and putting them in plastic sheets, plastic bags that you have a Ziploc on, so you keep them dry, so you can continue to use them. Detailed maps of the area you live, if you can get them laminated or waterproofed, even better. But you can use those large storage bags with a Ziploc opening. Okay. How about items such as coffee and alcohol or tea that will make excellent bartering items? I love herb teas. We have a lot of them. My family doesn't think they would like it. They would if they had to have it. But use coffee and alcohol and tea as a bartering item. The next thing we're going to talk about is transportation. Consider the fact that gas might become unavailable in the long term. In fact, if you have no way to get to a gas station, i.e. there's been an earthquake and fissures have opened up in the road and you can't get to a gas station because the roads become impassable, or they've jacked up the price of gasoline where you can't afford it, what are you going to do? Do you have a mountain bike? Can you barter for a bike? Yes, you can. Can you start looking at Craigslist and other venues for a mountain bike, an inexpensive mountain bike that you might have to fix up a little bit for it to serve you? My father, when I was a young boy, taught my brother and I how to fix bicycles, where we became very good at it. Where if I got hold of a used bike that was dilapidated, didn't even have good wheels on it, no rubber at all, we know how to fix that. And I've done it. I've ridden bikes all over the place. Okay. How about a canoe or even a small boat? I can show you full lists of things that you may need for transportation. Think about it. If you need that, contact me. How about homeschooling? This is one option that is often overlooked in the aspect of long-term survival. But you need to consider your children's education. With no schools available, you might have to take the role of becoming a teacher. So why not why not stock up on some of your old school books? Why not? A book is a book. And if the information in that book has changed, you can update it yourself. Write it on a piece of paper and stick it in the book. Or tell your kids, now there's even a better way to do this. And this is how you do it. The book didn't cover it at one time, but because we've been around a while, we figured out better ways. And you can teach your children that. Why not? Just because we became old fuddy-duddies doesn't mean we don't know what we're talking about. As kids grow older, they realize their parents did know something, and we still do. If you are thinking that you might have access to school teachers post-collapse, you also might keep in mind your own child's safety. Them going to school every day in a post-apocalypse society, which could prove to be very dangerous. And I'm not saying this will happen, but you and I both know what's happening in our society now, and it's going to get worse. You should keep this in mind in the very idea of you homeschooling your own kids, no matter how distasteful that it might be, or you don't want to school your kids. You may have to. So climb out of your rut that you're in, pull up your big girl panties and shorts, and get on the gravy train. Because the gravy train is going to leave you behind if you don't get on it pretty soon. How about medical care? I talked about sewing my finger up. Needless to say, you're going to need medical supplies and bandages, gauze bandages, other kinds of bandages, and the knowledge to take care of yourself and your family. Working in the field all day long and even around the house is hard, but accidents happen. In addition to storing lots and lots of Band-Aids, you'll have to improvise with duct tape, for example, and cotton balls. A lot of years ago, I worked for a company where people were cutting themselves all the time. And one day I was tearing open a box and I cut a large gash in my leg. And I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Because they threatened the next person that was going to cut themselves that they would be fired. I just happened to have some bandages in my own first aid kit in my pocket, because I wore those BDU type pants with pockets on in the pant leg. So I got out some gauze bandage. I pulled up my pant leg, and you put the gauze bandage over the wound. And I cleaned it up as best I could, put the gauze bandage over the wound, and then duct taped it. Today, I don't even have a scar. Think about it. Think about how you're going to improvise on how to bandage yourself or a family member to save their life, to save their appendage, their leg, their finger, their hand, their arm. How about personal hygiene? Once the earthquake hits or the bomb hits and the dust settles, there's going to be a big hygiene problem. Big cities will become the ones most affected because all of the garbage that will accumulate. But don't think you're safe just because you're in a rural area. Burning your garbage can attract nosy neighbors, so it's probably best to bury it. Okay? Look at and see right now what's going on in San Francisco and Los Angeles with the homeless. Their feces, their urine all over the streets and sidewalks, their trash rotting, creating a health issue, a health problem. Is that something that you want to have? Or are you going to figure out a way to protect yourself, to clean up your area that you live in, so you and your children and your neighbors and friends banded together can help each other clean it up? Shovels. Digging a hole and throwing all that crap in a hole and burying it. It's better than having it sitting out stinking and causing a health problem to attract rats and other diseases. Don't forget that that garbage attracts lots of rats and other critters. If you want to get rid of rats, make sure they don't have food, water, and shelter. Get rid of the trash. Speaking of hygiene, don't forget your teeth. Even the best dentist in the world can't operate without modern equipment unless he's willing to take a reasonable amount of pain. And I can still remember a tooth that my dentist pulled out without anesthesia. It hurt like all get out. Solution? How about stocking up on toothbrushes, toothpaste, floss, mouthwash? Mouthwash can last for at least 2 to 3 years because bacteria cannot grow inside. You'll be thankful and thank yourself for doing it. How about helping to rebuild your society, your neighborhoods, your cities, post-apocalypse, and rebuilding the economy? Provided that you're surrounded by like-minded people, you're going to have to take matters into your own hands and create a functioning community from the ground up. We're going to be living in what we want to call, or what I'm going to call, without the rule of law society. Without the rule of law society. You're going to take care of your own security. You're going to need a budget, a hospital, someone in charge of communications, and other things. What are you going to do? There's probably lawyers that are among your circle of friends. And if they're not, maybe you need to search them out and become friends with them and have them help you. And how about searching for people that spent years and years in law enforcement, that know how to maintain security of themselves and their community? We know a lot of doctors and nurses in our neighborhoods. How about becoming friends with them and helping set up a neighborhood security plan, a neighborhood medical plan? How about putting someone in charge of communications, like someone that has a ham radio or knows how to use police scanners and ham radios? Rebuilding your neighborhood, rebuilding your society isn't just hard work. It requires you to get everyone else around you to help. Building a circle of friends is going to help you. And getting everyone else around you to help might mean conflict, fights, arguments. Tough decisions need to be made. But just imagine how hard it would be if everyone started bartering instead of using a defunct US dollar bill. And besides, now the one world order is telling us, oh, but the money, the bills have become infected with the coronavirus. We can't have that. So they're going to try to burn the bills and burn our money so we have none. Hold on to your money, folks. In fact, the last thing to come to a normal post-collapse society is the trust between people. And it'll go. The trust between people will disappear. I promise you that. One of the last things that I want to talk about here tonight is entertainment. Why? Why do I need entertainment when the whole world's going to hell in a handbasket and you don't have any money to go to a show and there's no movie theaters open? They were destroyed in the Cascadia event, or they were destroyed in another earthquake event caused by Cascadia, or a tornado, or a hurricane. But last but not least, let's remember entertainment. Something to turn our minds away from the horrible situation we may be facing. Let's not forget that in a world without smartphones and TVs and the internet, boredom is going to become a huge issue. Even my granddaughter wants her mother's or her grandmother's cell phone, and she's figured out how to manipulate it to get it to play children's movies or cartoons or games. When these smartphones go away, we're not going to be able to use the TV because it won't be available. It'll be either destroyed or there will be no TV stations around that are broadcasting because they're destroyed. Do you have movies that you could use on your own DVD player if one still exists, if you have power? Think about it. Decide how you're going to handle it. When I spent summers in the countryside with some of my friends, and I remember my grandmother telling us stories of being out in the country when she was a little girl and what they had to do, and carrying water from the creek to use to cook, to bathe, what things they did to play games, to have something to turn their minds from the horrible situation that they used to live in. And I call it horrible. They didn't at the time. They didn't know any better. Okay? I didn't have iPads and games. I had Monopoly. I had a lot of different other board games that we used to play. We still have a box of board games here in our home because even my kids, they're adults now, but even my kids like to play games. And we do that as a family. My favorite ways to spend time when I was growing up and now with my own children and our dogs, listening to the radio, reading comic books. Yes, comic books. Remember Batman comic books, Superman, and there are many others. Fantastic Four. Talking with your friends and family. A means to an end. Learn to talk with each other, your children, if you have other family members around, or making friends with your neighbors where you're close and you do fun things with them and play games and make up games to do with each other. If this sounds boring and stupid, then I'm going to suggest one other thing. Learn to appreciate the beauty of simple things and bonding with other people, developing relationships with other people. Okay? As I said, we have a good-sized box over here. with board games and such. You can go over to your thrift shops and buy books. Most of the books are really cheap because they have now books on Kindle and books on Nook and books on this and books on that. So these board games, these books are dirt cheap, inexpensive. And you can get other things to kill time. And that's the last thing you want to do is kill time. You don't want to waste time. Every minute of every day is going to become valuable to you. In a post-collapse world where the government's gone to heck in a handbasket, you're going to have ways, one, to stay busy. And you're going to be busy. But when you have a little bit of time, think of things to take your mind off of your situation and to make yourself better. Now, I know I've talked a lot tonight, about an hour and a half. We talked a little bit about Cascadia. We talked a lot about the coronavirus. I wanted to give you this information to make you aware of it, so that you can do things on your own to protect yourself and your family. We are going to be talking about emergency preparedness more and more and more. Next weekend, next Friday and Saturday, we're going to be taking you to the Regional Preparedness Conference and Preparedness Fair here in Sandy, Utah. Okay, let me pull up the information on it. Where are we? We are. I'm going to show you that picture. If you are anywhere in the Western United States and you're even thinking about coming here to Salt Lake next weekend, you're going to want to consider doing this. This is going to be a very good place to be. Okay. You're going to want to consider doing this. We are going to be at the Deseret News Utah Prepare Conference and Expo here on State Street in Sandy, Utah. It's approximately the 95 or 9600 block of State Street in Sandy, Utah. It's called the Mountain American Expo Center. It's on the east side of the street. What have you done to prepare for a disaster? Think about it. Think about it. Come over to our fair. We are going to be with the Disaster Discovery Center, and we're going to be broadcasting on and off Friday afternoon, evening to about 8 p.m. Friday night, from 2 to 8 p.m. Friday day, during the day and night. And then it opens at 9 o'clock in the morning, Saturday morning, and goes until 6 p.m. Think about coming over. We would love to have you. We would love to have you. We'd love to see you. If you can't make it, when we go on the air, tune into our podcasts. Watch our podcasts. We're hoping to interview a lot of movers and shakers in the preparedness industry. And who knows, we may even have some swag for you. So think about it. Next weekend, a week from today, we'll be at the Mountain America Exposition Conference Center. Come and see us. If not, tune into our programs. We're going to be broadcasting off and on. The more and more people that we get from various companies and organizations to talk with you, the better off everyone's going to be. Because we want to show you this. We want to bring you the fare to your home, to your car, or wherever you might be, to give you information that you might not otherwise have. Okay, so there's that. Now, I want to thank all of you that have been with us tonight. We appreciate you being here. We appreciate you sharing everything with us. I want to tell you and ask the Lord to bless you. We love each and every one of you. We really do. As Walter Cronkite would say, and that's the way it is. Friday, March 6th, 2020. For Emergency Management Associates, this is Ron Tyler. Have a great evening, folks. Good night, everybody. Stay tuned for Clarity After Dark. Good night, everybody. Thank you for being with us. Take care.